You initiated the African Economic Conference in 2006. It's the bank's second most important yearly event, enabling academics and leaders to get together on specific economic topics in support of African development. What inspired you to launch this type of conference, and what kind of impact would you say it has?
When we set up the office of the chief economist, we figured that one of the important deliverables of this unit would be to enable African economists or other economists working on African issues to get together on a regular basis with the staff of the bank to try to have this kind of conversation among ourselves. Because far too often issues on Africa about Africa are articulated by those who don't have the deep knowledge which staff of the bank has. So on a regular basis, in this case 2 years, economists from within the bank, from African think tanks, from foreign think tanks working on African issues get together. And from my assessment at this moment, I think it has enabled this conversation about Africa, which I think is contributing to what we do.
Regional integration as key to sustainable growth is this year's theme at the AEC. It reflects one of the bank's 2013-2022 long-term strategy core issues. How far along do you think Africa will have gone with integration by 2022?
Look, economic integration is difficult everywhere. You just have to look at Europe and many other places. It takes time. It's a process. So you really don't say we have arrived. It's a process. I think if you ask me at this time, I think issues of tariffs, we have made a lot of progress in terms of tariff barriers. I think non-tariff barriers remain a big issue. I think cross-border infrastructure remains a challenge. The bank is contributing enormously on that. But beyond the hard infrastructure, we need to work on soft issues which allow people, business people, and capital to move across borders. We have challenges there. Some regions have moved quite fast. East Africa is an example, the COMESA region. But there are some parts of Africa where progress is painfully slow. That is North Africa and Central Africa. The texts are there, the resolutions exist, but I think we need to go beyond the texts and the laws to implementation. Now, at the moment, I would say that even opportunities which exist are not being used fully. I'll give an example. It probably now costs African travelers within Africa, traveling by air, maybe probably 40% more than they should be paying. And yet we have an agreement called the Yamoussoukro Agreement, which would have increased the amount of deregulation of the aviation sector. And my feeling is it could have brought down the cost of travel within Africa. So there are things we can do now already which don't require infrastructure, sharing services, Schengen-type agreements, for example. So I would like to say that there are bits and pieces we can do faster than others, and this is what I will be saying at this conference.
Beyond infrastructure, integration also means changing mentalities. Some countries are still rather protectionist, fearing that opening up borders could weaken their economy. What could you tell them to convince them to change their outlook?
Tell them that when they visit Dubai, which many of them do quite often, they should remember that over 80%, if not more, of people who live in Dubai are not Emiratis, and the country is prospering. So there is a fear that if you open up borders, that somehow your economy will suffer. To the contrary, countries which have attempted to do that, open borders, of course in an orderly way, every country has laws, have found that there is increased benefits for the economy. And I believe that in those regions of Africa where it is happening, like East Africa, for example, it is no surprise that it is the most dynamic region of the continent. They can do more, but they have done quite a lot in that particular area. So I think the idea that it is a zero-sum game is not right. I think there are mutual benefits. You don't benefit all at the same time at the beginning, but along the way, the benefits are quite important to all the parties.
Hard infrastructure projects remain a priority for the bank. Under your guidance, the bank has launched the Africa 50 Fund. Do you think this will act as a catalyst for regional integration?
The fund will aim at financing commercially viable, bankable projects which are transformative at the same time. Many of these projects are regional in nature. There will be railways, there will be maritime ports, there might be airports, there may be power connections. These are things which today are constrained by lack of long-term financing. The bank has done what it can. We commit $1.8 billion a year to economic projects of this nature. But at the rate at which Africa is growing, we have absolutely to do more to unlock the internal potential of the continent. And the reason is not difficult to see. If you see now, for example, the emerging markets, countries like China, they have grown strongly over the last 20 years by the export model. Now they are turning large into the internal demand model. I think with such a big market on this continent, 1 billion people, 54 countries, there are challenges. So the more we can remove the barriers, we'll be able to unlock the markets internally, and that will be a major shock absorber to what's happening in the global economy. So I hope Africa 50 will be a step change in the way we finance cross-border, transformational, bankable projects.
What do you expect from the upcoming African Economic Conference in Johannesburg at the end of October?
Robust discussion, not to repeat the basic principles which we know, not to repeat the affirmation that economic integration is important. We know that. It is to assess how far we have gone, to look at the constraints ahead, and each one of us to contribute with these knowledge products on how to make things happen faster.